Most people know Petra as the city carved into stone, but that is only the surface. Because behind these rose-colored cliffs was a city that should not have survived. No great river, no endless green fields, no easy water source. And yet, more than 2,000 years ago, Petra became one of the most remarkable cities of the ancient world. A city hidden in the desert, protected by mountains, enriched by trade, and sustained by engineering. This is the story of Petra, the desert city carved into stone. The first approach to Petra feels almost impossible to forget. You do not see the city all at once. You enter through a narrow passage known as the Sick. The sandstone walls rise high on both sides. The path twists through the rock. The light changes with every step. And then, suddenly, through the opening ahead, something appears. A facade carved directly into the cliff. This is Al-Khazne, often called the Treasury. It is the image that made Petra famous around the world. But Petra was never just one building. Behind this monument was a city, a trading center, a place of worship, a place of tombs, streets, markets, theaters, and homes. And the people who built it understood something that made Petra possible. They understood the desert. Petra lies in southern Jordan, between the Red Sea and the Dead Sea. In the ancient world, this location mattered. Trade routes passed through the region, connecting Arabia, Egypt, Syria, and the Mediterranean world. Caravans carried incense, spices, textiles, metals, and luxury goods. Across long and dangerous distances. And Petra stood near the heart of this movement. To control Petra was to control access. Access to shelter, access to protection, access to trade, and most importantly, access to water. The people behind Petra were the Nabataeans. By the 4th century BC, the Nabataeans had begun to settle and build power in this region. By the 2nd century BC, Petra had become the heart of their kingdom. They were Arab traders, builders, diplomats, and engineers. Their wealth did not come from conquering enormous empires. It came from understanding movement. They knew where caravans needed to go. They knew where travelers needed to stop. And they knew how to survive in places where others could not. But there was one problem. A city cannot live on stone alone. It needs water. Petra stood in an arid region, surrounded by cliffs, canyons, and dry desert land. There was no great river flowing through the city, no simple natural supply that could support thousands of people without planning. So how did Petra survive? The answer was hidden in the rock. The Nabataeans built one of the most impressive water management systems of the ancient world. They carved channels into sandstone. They built dams to slow and redirect sudden floods. They created cisterns to store rainwater. They used conduits and pipes to move water through the city. What looked like a dry landscape was actually a carefully controlled system of water. The cliffs were not just scenery. They were part of the system. The Nabataeans turned rock into infrastructure. They carved channels into the canyon walls. They built dams to slow and redirect sudden floods. And they created cisterns to collect and store precious rainwater. What looked harsh and empty was carefully engineered for survival. This is what makes Petra different. Many ancient cities were built beside rivers. Petra was built where water had to be captured, protected, and controlled. The Nabataeans did not fight the desert blindly. They worked with it, and that changed everything. Petra became more than a city in the desert. It became a place where life could take root, where people could settle, and where trade could flourish. What had once seemed like a harsh landscape became the foundation of a thriving city. From here, goods, people, and ideas moved across the desert. Caravans arrived from Arabia, from Egypt, and from the lands beyond the Dead Sea. Petra was becoming a crossroads of the ancient world. Once water could be controlled, Petra could do more than survive. It could grow. It could feed people. It could welcome travelers. Merchants arrived with goods from Arabia, Egypt, and the wider Mediterranean world. Petra became more than a city in the desert. It became a thriving center of trade, movement, and daily life. As wealth passed through Petra, the city began to change. Trade did not only fill its markets, it shaped its streets, its tombs, and its monuments. The Nabataeans carved their power directly into the cliffs. But Petra's monuments were not only built to impress, they were messages in stone, a reminder that this city had mastered the impossible: water, trade, and the desert itself. And nowhere is that message clearer than in the monument most people recognize today. In 106 AD, the Nabataean kingdom was absorbed into the Roman Empire. Over time, trade routes changed, earthquakes damaged the city, and Petra slowly faded from the center of the ancient world. Empires rose, trade routes shifted, but Petra's legacy did not fade. It remains carved in stone, a symbol of human ingenuity and the power of a civilization that learned how to survive the desert. Petra was not a miracle carved by chance. It was a city shaped by intelligence, patience, and survival. And that is why its story still echoes through stone.